This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Panel resolve. This house believes that digital-enabled business model systems in East Africa exploit the local community under the guise of social entrepreneurship. Panel, I want to rebut what the first speaker comes here to say, who does not even play his role and plays a role of a second speaker. First of all, our first speaker tells him that 68% of the people in East Africa are exploited in local industries. And then we ask them what's the percentage of people exploiting these digital businesses of theirs. They come and start telling us about 30%, of which we get a higher percentage. However, that is not our debate tonight. Panel, I want us to realize that the mere fact that a book has a nice cover does not mean the pages inside are good. So I want to prove to you this day that the pages inside the book of digital entrepreneurship are really very bad. However, they are just using social entrepreneurship as an umbrella for the activities that they are carrying out. Panel, I want to ask them a question that how are they going to teach everyone in East Africa? However, this is not even a policy debate, so I don't see any need of a strategy here. Now, panel, resolve. I want us to get to realize to the mere fact that digital-enabled business models are exploiting people both directly and indirectly. First of all, when they come and tell us about social entrepreneurship and user engagement. Now, with user engagement, these companies ask you, what do you have about our product? But guess what the products that they're asking about? They're asking about products from the outside countries. And realize that a number of these digital-enabled business model systems, for example, the Jumia that they claim to be talking about, are not actually from East Africa. These are foreign businesses. So we do not see any economic development or any economic growth or creativity being driven here in our country. Why? Because we are being given ideas to other communities, of which this is a form of exploitation. Your idea is being exploited for them to gain money from you. Panel, at the end of the day, we realize that digital-enabled business systems are disrupting traditional industries in a way that they tend to prove better performance than our very own industries here. And then at the end of the day, because they have proved better performance than our very own industries, we realize that our local industries tend to lag. Our traditional industries tend to lag down. Why? Because the digital-enabled business models are now taking the phase and positioning themselves within our very own countries. Panel, let me ask you a question. At the end of the day, when our traditional industries get to lag down and then they are killed, at the end of the day, because there is no one to attend to their products or take their products in our local countries, Panel, do you really think there is again continuity in the success of this business? And that question is also posed unto you. Panel, I want to bring to you to a mere fact that the mode of operation of these businesses has actually brought about joblessness. I don't want people to say that there is job creation, because the rate at which these businesses create jobs is less compared to the way that they make a number of people lose jobs. For example, when we look at digital disruption of the traditional industries. Now we look at disruption of the traditional industries, whereby at the end of the day, our local industries are suppressed, and one, they lose out, they tend to break down. Now you realize that our 68% are being affected. So at the end of the day, where are we going to place them? However, yes, they're also unskilled. Panel, I want to make you realize that there is also deceptive advertising, because Panel, in this deceptive advertising brings about total exploitation of customers or exploitation of the local community. And realize that when the local community is exploited, even our very own country ends up being exploited of its own, because the people are exploited. Where is it going to get revenue for taxes? And there is no drive for economic growth once people are exploited, and they tend to sit down doing nothing. Because one, when deceptive advertising, the consequence of deceptive advertising are really so hard, to an extent that someone ends up wasting money because they thought the product that they saw online was really valuable. And at the end of the day, this is someone being exploited of money, someone being exploited of quality. And at the panel, we realize that at the end of the day, there is no social entrepreneurship here. I rest my case.
Now, Chair, what comes from Side Affirmative today is something that we are really not well conversant with. Why? Affirmative. Side Affirmative claims that these digitally enabled business models sort of like exploit these particular individuals. But Chair, if they claim that they exploit these particular individuals, ideally for people that are going to work in the digitally enabled business models, let's talk about the gig workers, the employees, whatever individual that is going to work in these particular businesses, ideally this particular individual has to consent to a certain form. So, and according to the Law Act, it says that the company is eligible to collect vast information, or it's eligible to collect vast information from particular individuals that work within it. So if they claim that there's something like exploiting, they claim that there's exploiting through different individuals buying products, and then they can't be compensated because this particular product is not nice. Ideally, these particular companies have a return platform where an individual is in position to sort of like, you know what, this particular good was nice, but ideally it is not nice anymore because I've received it and I've seen the faults with it. Then this particular individual is sort of able to sort of like request for a return, and this product is taken back. Secondly, they claim that there's a digital divide between, they bring about digital divides, but ideally these digital companies don't bring a digital divide, but rather they unite the digital division. Why? Because even an individual that is not in position to sort of like access these digitally enabled business models, because they've heard about Jumia, and the narrative that is flowing within Jumia is that Jumia sells nice things. Ideally, this particular individual is going to be pushed or coerced to start buying things from Jumia, right? Which means it's not dividing the digital divide, but rather it's building and constructing the digital platform. Secondly, they talk about taken.
Do you understand digital divide?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
They talk about displacing traditional industries because these different platforms are sort of like participating and gaining a lot. But ideally, if they are not dividing these traditional businesses. Why? Because if an individual is in position to buy something from this digital divide, then they are in position to get it. If an individual is not in position to get from these digital businesses, they are in position to still go to these traditional local markets and then still get something at the end of the day. Which means no one is like these particular industries are not exploited, or these particular industries are not underlooked. Just to go into our case. Aside negative, we think that these platforms are not sort of exploiting these different individuals, but rather they are creating jobs and income opportunity. Because of these platforms, we have seen individuals like Boda men that are doing delivery work for industries like Jumia, for industries like Gigi, for different industries like CJs, all those different businesses that use these different platforms. And people are becoming breadwinners at the end of the day. Someone who was not even in position to sort of like pay school fees for their kid is able to pay school fees at the end of the day. Then according to the principle of economic empowerment, a system that enables individuals and businesses to participate in and benefits the economic activity should not be considered as exploitative. That is according to principle. If a business is involving the local community, whereby these people that are living within the community are able to sort of like get jobs within that particular business, it's then not regarded as an exploitative business. Then secondly, I think they are giving market access to these small businesses. Why? At the end of the day, me as an individual, I'm able to go to this different platform and still publicize that I'm selling a percolator or I'm selling a bottle of soda, and an individual is still able to sort of like buy this particular individual. But I'm an individual, I'm a local entrepreneur. At the end of the day, I'm also able to sort of like participate in this particular job because these different platforms are just used as a vessel, they are a vessel for still practicing businesses. At the end of the day, everyone is able to benefit. I beg to submit.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.